The battle of the best ARs continues as the STG and the NZ-41 continue to battle it out in Season 3 Reloaded. With the new season, they buffed both of these ARs, making them the best Season 3 has to offer. But which one is the best AR right now? Some say it's the STG and some say it's the NZ-41. So in today's video, we're gonna compare both of them to see which one is the better based on the stats. Now, of course, everyone has a different playstyle, so one AR might feel better for some people and one AR might feel better for the others. So this comparison is strictly based on the stats. Along with the stats, I'm also gonna show you guys the recoil for both guns. Before I go ahead with the stats, here's the loadout for the STG and here is the loadout for the NZ-41. Both of these are meta loadouts and both of them are for long range. The NZ-41 does have a burst barrel, so make sure to switch that to single fire every time you spawn in. Now, since you know the loadout for both ARs, let's look at some stats, starting off with bullet velocity, which is very important for a long range AR. Starting off with the STG, it has a bullet velocity of 1612 meters per second, which makes the STG feel like a laser. Comparing that to the NZ-41, it has a bullet velocity of 1272 meters per second. The NZ has a very solid bullet velocity for a long range AR, but the STG is just built different. Still very solid for the NZ-41, and you will only notice a difference at super long ranges. But anyways, that round belongs to the STG. Next, let's look at the bullet drop, since it directly depends on the bullet velocity. The lower the bullet velocity, the faster the bullet will drop. So since the NZ-41 has a lower bullet velocity, that means it's gonna drop a lot faster than the STG's bullet. And we can see that on this chart. Now, as I said before, this will only be noticeable at longer ranges, and most of the times you won't notice it, especially since most of your long range fights will be 60 to 70 meters. But anyways, that's another round to the STG. Before we move on to the next stat, if you're enjoying the video and finding it helpful, then help a brother out and leave a like. Appreciate you liking the video. Now let's move on to the TTK for both ARs. Looking at the NZ-41 first, it has a TTK of 960 milliseconds after 41 meters with only chest shots. The STG on the other hand has a TTK of 940 milliseconds after 41 meters with only chest shots. So as you can see, very close with just a difference of 20 milliseconds between the two. The difference between the TTK for long range is so small that you won't notice it in game, but nonetheless, the STG kills 20 milliseconds faster, so this round also goes to the STG. Next, let's look at the fire rate for both guns. The STG has a fire rate of 638 rounds per minute and the NZ shoots 577 rounds per minute. When we compare that to the fast fire rate ARs like the Cooper and the M13, they sit around 800 to 900 rounds per minute. So both are on the lower end of the spectrum for ARs, but not too slow where it makes them unusable. The NZ's fire rate is similar to the AK-47, so if you like that AR, then you'll be fine using the NZ-41 as well. But anyways, that's another round to the STG since it has a faster fire rate. Now let's look at the non-ADS speed for both rifles. As you can see, the STG is just a little faster than the NZ-41 in all three important categories. For me, even in game, I feel like my movement is a bit better with the STG than the NZ. The NZ overall just feels like a heavier gun in my opinion. That's another point to the STG. Next, let's look at the bullets to kill for long range. After 41 meters, the STG kills in 11 chest shots and the NZ kills in just 9 chest shots. Mix in a few headshots and the NZ will completely melt your opponents. Finally, the NZ-41 wins one round, but the score doesn't always tell the full story. Next, let's look at the damage profile for both guns. This is the damage profile for long range for both guns, which is after 41 meters. As you can see, the NZ dishes out more damage to all parts of the body, which makes sense because it does have a slower fire rate, so it's bound to dish out more damage with each bullet. That's another point to the NZ-41. Now lastly, let's look at the recoil for both guns. So on the left in the green, we have the recoil for the STG, and on the right in the red, we have the recoil for the NZ-41. As you can see, the recoil for both guns is super easy. It basically just goes straight up. But which one is easier? In my opinion, the NZ recoil is easier to control as it doesn't go as high as the STG's recoil. This is probably due to the brace perk equipped in the NZ loadout, but that's another point to the NZ-41. And with that, we have a clear winner. With a final score of 5-3, the STG comes out on top. Now the STG might have won, but the full story isn't told just by the score. Most of the rounds in the comparison were super close, which means both of these ARs are top tier ARs, and no matter which one you pick, you will melt kids in Caldera. The comparison was strictly based on the stats on paper, so it doesn't take into random variables like who shoots first, player skills, or even headshots. Along with that, some players might feel like they play better with the NZ than the STG, so at the end of the day, it's just different strokes for different folks. If you're a casual player, I recommend sticking with the STG, especially if you don't have the NZ leveled up. I wouldn't go out of my way to level up the NZ because you think it's gonna make you a better player. The difference between both of the ARs is very little. Both of them are neck to neck, but nonetheless, the STG takes home the crown. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like like, and if you want to see me compare 2 another strong ARs in Warzone, check out this video on the screen, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.